10. The Skeleton Watch, Fremantle Prison, Western Australia. The Skeleton Watch from Fremantle Prison was not a relic of royalty or a grand heirloom. It was likely a pocket watch, perhaps belonging to a long-serving guard or even a high-ranking official within the formidable walls of Fremantle Prison. Established in the 1850s, this maximum security prison operated for over 136 years, housing convicts, murderers, and the most dangerous criminals in Western Australia. A watch, in this context, would have been a precise instrument, a tool for maintaining strict schedules, marking the passage of time in an environment where every minute was regulated. It would have been a silent witness to countless rounds, inmate transfers, and the relentless, monotonous tick-tock of life behind bars, simply a mundane object keeping track of a harsh reality. The watch's transformation into a cursed object is steeped in the prison's dark history, particularly its association with the 44 executions that took place within its gallows. It's believed that the watch, having been present for, or intimately connected with, a significant number of these hangings, absorbed the intense fear, despair, and residual energy of the condemned. The term skeleton watch also fittingly alludes to the bare bones of time, and the grim reality of death, which it silently witnessed. It is now considered a physical conduit for the tormented spirits of those who died within the prison, particularly those who were executed, making it a chilling reminder of Fremantle's brutal past. The Skeleton Watch from Fremantle Prison is notorious for its unsettling and often unnerving manifestations. Visitors and staff who handle or are in close proximity to the watch frequently report a sudden and drastic drop in temperature, an icy cold that permeates the air, often accompanied by a feeling of suffocating pressure or an intense sense of dread, as if reliving the final moments of a condemned prisoner. Beyond the atmospheric changes, there are numerous accounts of disembodied whispers, faint guttural sounds, or even distant, muffled screams emanating from the watch itself, or its immediate surroundings. Perhaps the most chilling encounters involve the watch inexplicably ticking or chiming on its own, even if its mechanisms are broken or wound down, as if marking an unseen passage of time or a spectral countdown to an execution. Some sensitive individuals have claimed to see fleeting, shadowy figures or distorted faces reflected in its glass, believed to be the tormented spirits of those who perished within the prison walls. The watch is said to carry the weight of untold suffering and the echoes of death, making it a profoundly unsettling artifact and a potent reminder of the dark history it witnessed, forever ticking to the rhythm of restless souls. 9. The Possessed Portrait, Princess Theatre, Melbourne. The Possessed Portrait is not just any painting. It depicts Frederick Baker, better known as Frederick Federici, a renowned Italian opera singer who performed at Melbourne's Princess Theatre in the late 19th century. Federici was a celebrated baritone, beloved by audiences for his powerful voice and captivating stage presence. The portrait itself would have been commissioned as a tribute to his artistry, a grand and dignified representation of a performer at the height of his career. It would have hung proudly, a testament to his fame and a cherished piece of theatrical memorabilia, capturing his essence and his connection to the very stage he graced. It was a static image, a piece of art intended for admiration, devoid of any inherent sinister qualities. The portrait became possessed following a truly dramatic and tragic event. On the evening of March 3, 1888, Federici was performing the role of Mephistopheles in Gounod's opera Faust. At the climax of the opera, where Mephistopheles descends into hell, Federici suffered a massive heart attack backstage. He died shortly after, in the theatre. What makes his story unique is that many members of the cast and crew swore they saw him on stage taking his final bow with the rest of the performers, even after he had collapsed backstage. It's believed that Federici's intense love for the theatre and his powerful presence somehow bound his spirit to the Princess Theatre, and specifically to his portrait, which hangs in the theatre to this day. The painting is now considered a vessel for his lingering spirit, an active component of the theatre's enduring haunting. The possessed portrait of Federici is the focal point of numerous chilling encounters at the Princess Theatre. The most famous phenomenon involves his spectral appearances, often coinciding with performances. Actors and crew have reported seeing a figure resembling Federici in the wings, or even sitting in the dress circle, observing the show. The portrait itself is said to subtly change expressions, with his eyes appearing to follow individuals as they move past it, or his stern gaze softening, depending on the mood of the theatre. Beyond visual phenomena, there are consistent reports of unexplainable cold spots in the portrait's vicinity, accompanied by a faint scent of old-fashioned cologne or theatrical grease paint. Perhaps the most eerie incidents involve the theatre staff's ritual of leaving a light on for Federici's ghost in the dress circle every night. If they failed to do so, unexplained power fluctuations, equipment malfunctions, or even prop disturbances often plagued the next day's performance. The portrait is seen as a physical manifestation of his enduring presence, a permanent audience member who continues to oversee the theatre he loved, occasionally making his spectral displeasure known if his comforts are not attended to, ensuring his legacy lives on in spectral form. 8. The Ghost Bed, Old Adelaide Gaol, South Australia. The ghost bed of Old Adelaide Gaol was, in its essence, a grim and uncomfortable piece of furniture, a stark symbol of confinement and punishment. Built in 1841, the jail operated for 147 years, housing thousands of prisoners, many of whom faced execution within its walls. This bed, like others in the jail, would have been a simple cot, perhaps a wooden frame with a thin mattress, designed for function rather than comfort. It was a place where prisoners rested, or more likely, endured sleepless nights plagued by fear, regret, or despair. It held no special significance. It was merely a temporary resting place in a world of stark realities, absorbing the silent suffering of countless individuals who lay upon it. The bed's transition into a cursed object is intimately tied to the brutal history of Old Adelaide Gaol. The jail witnessed 45 executions, and many more deaths from disease, violence, and self-harm. The sheer concentration of despair, anger, and the final moments of human life within its cells is believed to have deeply imprinted upon objects like this bed. It is thought to be particularly connected to the spirit of a former inmate, perhaps one who suffered greatly or died upon it, whose residual energy or active spirit now clings to the very fabric of the bed, making it a focal point for the jail's haunting. The ghost bed at Old Adelaide Gaol is notorious for its chilling and often frightening manifestations. Visitors and paranormal investigators who dare to lie on it or even stand near it report a profound sense of unease, often escalating to intense dread and panic. The most common occurrence is the inexplicable feeling of pressure on the chest, as if an unseen weight is pressing down, making breathing difficult. This is frequently accompanied by a sudden and dramatic drop in temperature, creating an icy pocket around the bed, even in a relatively warm room. Disembodied whispers and guttural groans have been heard emanating from the vicinity of the bed, sometimes sounding like pleas, other times like angry warnings. Perhaps the most terrifying encounters involve people experiencing vivid, terrifying nightmares if they attempt to sleep on the bed, often featuring images of confinement, violence, or death. Some have reported feeling an unseen hand grab their leg or arm, or a distinct sense of being pushed or pulled. The bed is believed to be a direct conduit to the tormented souls who once lay upon it, especially those who died within the jail's walls, their suffering forever imprinted on this grim piece of furniture, ensuring that their pain continues to be felt by those brave enough to approach. 7. The Doll of Picton Tunnel, New South Wales. Before it became an object of fear and fascination, the Doll of Picton Tunnel was likely a beloved toy, a cherished companion for a young girl in the late 19th or early 20th century. Picton Tunnel, originally built for the Great Southern Railway line in the 1860s, holds its own history of tragic accidents and dark legends, but the doll itself was an innocent addition to someone's life. Perhaps it was a porcelain doll, or an old rag doll, crafted with care and intended to bring joy and comfort to its owner. It spent its early years in a home, a silent confidant to childhood dreams and secrets, completely unaware of the chilling fate that awaited it within the depths of a dark, abandoned railway tunnel. The doll's malevolent reputation began after it was reportedly left, or perhaps intentionally placed, within the infamous Picton Tunnel. The tunnel itself is steeped in stories of paranormal activity, particularly the spirit of Emily Bollard, a local woman who was tragically struck and killed by a train there in 1916. It's widely believed that the doll became a vessel, or a focal point, for the restless spirits of Picton Tunnel, particularly Emily, or other children who may have met tragic ends in the area. The doll, once a symbol of innocence, transformed into a conduit for negative energy, a physical anchor for the unseen forces that haunt the tunnel. The Doll of Picton Tunnel is infamous for its deeply unsettling and often aggressive paranormal manifestations. Visitors and paranormal investigators venturing into the dark, damp tunnel frequently report the doll changing positions on its own, even after being deliberately placed in a specific spot. Its head has been seen to turn, its eyes to follow people, creating a chilling sensation of being watched. Beyond visual phenomena, the doll is associated with disembodied giggling, often described as childlike and sinister, echoing through the oppressive silence of the tunnel. There are also reports of cold spots forming around the doll, intense temperature drops that defy logical explanation. Perhaps the most disturbing encounters involve physical interaction. People have reported feeling unseen hands tugging at their clothes, light pushes, or even faint scratches on their skin after approaching the doll. Some brave souls who have attempted to remove or disturb the doll claim to have experienced immediate and severe misfortune, from car breakdowns upon leaving the tunnel to prolonged periods of bad luck. The doll is believed to be a protective, sometimes vengeful, guardian of the tunnel's secrets, ensuring that the spirits within are not disturbed, making it a truly unnerving object of paranormal power. 6. The Haunted Wheelchair, Aradale Asylum, Victoria. Before it became an icon of spectral activity, this wheelchair was a mundane, functional piece of equipment within the sprawling confines of Aradale Asylum, formerly known as Ararat Lunatic Asylum. Operating for over 130 years, Aradale was one of Australia's largest and most infamous mental institutions, housing thousands of patients. This particular wheelchair would have been in constant use, transporting infirm patients, those too weak to walk, or those requiring restraint. It was a utilitarian object, rolling through the asylum's long corridors, bearing witness to countless struggles, moments of despair, and perhaps even fleeting instances of quiet contemplation. It was a ubiquitous part of the daily routine, carrying the weight of human suffering without ever being consciously aware of the anguish it absorbed. The wheelchair's transformation into a haunted artifact is attributed to the immense volume of human suffering, neglect, and death that occurred within Aradale's walls. Many patients spent their entire lives within the asylum, dying there and leaving behind intense residual energies. It's believed that the wheelchair, having been so intimately connected with the sick, the dying, and the despairing, became imbued with the spirits of former patients, particularly those who were confined or died while using it. No longer just an aid to mobility, it is now considered a vessel for the lost souls of Aradale, a physical manifestation of the asylum's dark past. The haunted wheelchair at Aradale Asylum is renowned for its unnerving, autonomous movements. Visitors and paranormal investigators frequently report seeing the wheelchair roll across rooms on its own, sometimes slowly and deliberately, other times with surprising speed, even when no one is touching it or there are no discernible drafts. It has been known to position itself in front of doorways, as if blocking passage, or to sit silently in the middle of a corridor, only to move suddenly when approached. Beyond its independent mobility, there are numerous accounts of sudden, inexplicable temperature drops in its vicinity, creating an icy cold spot that sends shivers down spines. Disembodied whispers and mournful sighs have been heard emanating from around the chair, as if the voices of past patients are attempting to communicate. Perhaps the most chilling encounters involve people feeling a distinct, cold touch on their arm or leg, or experiencing an overwhelming sense of dread and confinement when near the wheelchair, as if sensing the suffering of its past occupants. Some claim to feel a heavy, unseen presence pushing them, or even a spectral patient sitting in the chair, a chilling reminder of the thousands of lives that ended within Aradale's desolate walls, their restless spirits forever bound to the instruments of their confinement. 5. The Piano of Beechworth Asylum, Victoria. The Piano of Beechworth Asylum, once known as the Mayday Hills Lunatic Asylum, was likely a grand instrument, chosen for its ability to provide solace and entertainment to the patients and staff alike. In an era when mental health treatment was rudimentary, music was often seen as a therapeutic tool, a way to calm agitated minds or offer moments of respite. This piano would have graced the asylum's common room or perhaps a recreation hall, its keys echoing with classical melodies, folk tunes, and even the occasional impromptu performance by a talented patient or staff member. It was a source of fleeting joy and human connection within the grim walls of an institution designed to house the mentally ill, a beacon of culture in an otherwise stark environment. As Beechworth Asylum operated for over 128 years, witnessing untold suffering, despair, and death, the piano, a silent observer in many of these tragedies, slowly absorbed the pervasive sorrow and residual energy. It is believed that the countless hours of somber melodies, the echoes of tormented cries, and the sheer volume of human anguish imprinted themselves upon the instrument, transforming it from a source of comfort into a vessel for the asylum's many lost souls. The piano, once a symbol of fleeting hope, became a conduit for the spectral energy that saturates the asylum's decaying halls. The piano of Beechworth Asylum is notorious for its chilling, autonomous performances. Even though the asylum is now defunct and the building stands silent, visitors and paranormal investigators frequently report hearing the distinct sound of piano keys being struck, sometimes individual notes, other times full, melancholic melodies, emanating from the direction of the instrument, even when no one is in the room or physically touching it. These ghostly recitals often begin unexpectedly and cease just as abruptly, leaving those who witness them with a profound sense of unease. Beyond the disembodied music, there are accounts of the piano's keys visibly depressing on their own, as if an unseen hand is playing. Witnesses have also reported feeling a sudden, drastic drop in temperature around the piano, accompanied by an overwhelming sensation of sadness or despair, as if the emotions of long-departed patients are manifesting through the instrument. Some claim to have seen fleeting, shadowy figures lingering near the piano, perhaps the spirits of former patients or staff drawn to the music. The spectral compositions are often described as mournful and haunting, a poignant reminder of the countless souls who passed through the asylum's doors, their lingering presence now echoing through the timeless, sorrowful chords of the piano. 4. The Cursed Painting, The Crying Boy Copy, Perth. The Crying Boy series of paintings, originally created by Italian artist Giovanni Bragolin, real name Bruno Amadio, in the 1950s, depicted tearful children with large, sorrowful eyes. Millions of copies were sold worldwide, becoming immensely popular decorative pieces in homes across the globe. The specific copy in Perth, like countless others, was a mass-produced print, bought simply for its aesthetic appeal, a seemingly innocent, if somewhat melancholic, piece of art intended to adorn a wall. It was a common household item, meant to evoke sympathy and perhaps a touch of pathos, completely devoid of any dark premonition or inherent malevolence. It sat in homes, a silent observer of family life, utterly unremarkable until the strange events began. The Crying Boy paintings, including this particular copy in Perth, gained notoriety after a series of bizarre and tragic fires in the UK in the 1980s. Numerous homes that burned down were found to have this painting miraculously unscathed amidst the ashes. This strange immunity, coupled with the painting's melancholic subject, quickly led to widespread superstition and the belief that the paintings were cursed, possibly igniting the fires themselves or attracting misfortune. The Perth copy, despite being geographically distant, is believed to have absorbed some of this collective fear and perhaps even an individual, localized curse, making it a harbinger of ill fortune for its owners. Its innocent image transformed into a symbol of misfortune and inexplicable danger. The cursed painting in Perth, like its infamous brethren, is associated with a disturbing pattern of bad luck and unexplained incidents. Owners of this particular copy have reported a consistent string of misfortunes, ranging from minor accidents and financial setbacks to more severe issues like illnesses and relationship breakdowns, often occurring in quick succession after the painting is acquired. The most chilling and persistent incidents involve unexplained fires. While direct ignition from the painting is rarely claimed, objects around the painting have been known to spontaneously combust, or small, inexplicable fires have broken out in the vicinity of where it is displayed. People who own or have owned the Perth copy speak of an unsettling feeling of being watched, a persistent sense of unease that permeates the room where the painting hangs. Some have reported hearing faint, mournful cries or whimpers coming from the painting, especially during the quiet hours of the night. Others describe feeling an overwhelming sense of sadness or dread when looking into the boy's tearful eyes, as if his painted sorrow is infectious. Despite attempts to dispose of the painting, including burning it, the curse seems remarkably resilient, with stories of the painting reappearing or the ill fortune continuing for those who once possessed it, cementing its reputation as a genuinely cursed object. 3. The Haunted Mirror, Maitland Jail, New South Wales. Before its sinister reputation took hold, the mirror in question was a simple, unassuming piece of reflective glass, likely a standard issue item within the austere confines of Maitland Jail. Built in 1844, the jail operated for over 150 years, housing some of Australia's most notorious criminals. This mirror would have hung in one of the cells, perhaps in a common area, or even in a guard's office. It served its mundane purpose, reflecting the faces of prisoners, guards, and the bleak reality of incarceration. It was an object of utility, bearing witness to countless moments within the jail's walls, from mundane routines to moments of despair and violence. It held no inherent malice, simply reflecting whatever was placed before it, unaware of the grim history it would absorb. The mirror's transformation into a haunted object is intrinsically linked to the dark, oppressive history of Maitland Jail. The jail witnessed immense suffering, executions, solitary confinement, and the raw emotions of desperation and anger. It's believed that the mirror, having absorbed the residual energy and psychic imprints of decades of human misery and tragedy, became a focal point for the trapped spirits within the jail. No longer just a reflective surface, it is said to act as a portal, a window into the spectral realm, particularly for those who met their end within the prison's forbidding walls. Its glass is now considered to hold the echoes of their pain and despair. The haunted mirror at Maitland Jail is known for its profoundly disturbing manifestations. Visitors often report seeing fleeting, shadowy figures reflected in its surface, even when no one is physically standing before it. These apparitions are frequently described as gaunt, tormented faces, sometimes glimpsed for only a fraction of a second, but leaving a lasting impression of dread. Beyond visual phenomena, there are numerous accounts of disembodied whispers and guttural moans emanating from the mirror's vicinity, sounds that seem to echo the despair of past inmates. The air around the mirror is often reported to feel intensely cold, a stark contrast to the surrounding environment, as if an icy presence has descended. Perhaps the most chilling encounters involve visitors feeling an overwhelming sense of dread or even a sudden, inexplicable surge of anger when looking into its depths, as if absorbing the raw emotions of the deceased. Some have claimed to feel a cold, unseen touch, or even a sense of being physically pushed away from the mirror, a spectral warning from the tormented souls trapped within its reflections. It serves as a chilling reminder of the suffering endured within the jail, its reflections now carrying the weight of a painful past. 2. The Ghost Dress, National Museum of Australia, Canberra. This elegant gown, now known as the Ghost Dress, was once a vibrant symbol of ambition and high society. It belonged to Eliza Faulkner, the wife of John Pascoe Faulkner, one of the founders of Melbourne. Eliza was a prominent figure in early colonial society, a woman of refined tastes and a keen social presence. The dress itself, a beautiful garment of its era, was likely worn to many grand occasions, balls, and gatherings, shimmering under gaslight as Eliza mingled with the elite. It was a testament to her status and the burgeoning sophistication of a young colony. There was nothing outwardly unusual about the dress, it was simply a cherished possession, an item of fashionable attire that bore witness to the everyday life and significant moments of a pioneering woman. The dress's descent into notoriety began after Eliza's passing. It was carefully preserved, a historical artifact eventually finding its way into the National Museum of Australia. However, it seems a part of Eliza never truly departed from her beloved garment. Curators and staff began to notice unsettling phenomena specifically around the dress. It was no longer just an antique, it had become an anchor for something unseen, a vessel for a lingering presence. The very fabric seemed to pulse with an unseen energy, a subtle yet persistent reminder of its former owner, now entwined with a spectral existence. The ghost dress has a reputation for its subtle yet undeniably eerie manifestations. Visitors and museum staff have reported a distinct, delicate scent of lavender, Eliza's favorite perfume, wafting around the display case, even though no such fragrance is present. This aroma often appears without warning and dissipates just as quickly, leaving those who experience it feeling an unsettling chill. There are also accounts of faint, inexplicable rustling sounds coming from the sealed display, as if the silk fabric is moving, despite the complete absence of any drafts or external disturbances. Perhaps the most unnerving phenomenon involves temperature fluctuations. A sudden, localized drop in temperature is frequently reported near the dress, creating an inexplicable cold spot in the normally climate-controlled environment. Some more sensitive individuals have claimed to feel a gentle, fleeting brush against their arm or a sense of being subtly touched when standing near the exhibit, a phantom caress attributed to Eliza's lingering spirit. The dress, though inanimate, seems to resonate with a faint, persistent energy, a spectral echo of its original wearer, reminding all who encounter it of the thin veil between the living and the long-departed. 1. The Haunted Book, Monte Cristo Homestead, New South Wales. Monte Cristo Homestead, often dubbed Australia's most haunted house, was built in 1885 by Christopher William Crawley and his wife Elizabeth. It was a grand estate, a testament to their prosperity in the rural New South Wales landscape. For years, The Crawley family lived a seemingly idyllic life within its walls, unaware of the tragic events that would soon stain its history and imbue certain objects with an unsettling energy. This particular book, believed to be an old family Bible or perhaps a diary, sat innocuously on a shelf, a silent witness to the daily rhythms of the household. It was a simple, leather-bound volume, unremarkable in its appearance, holding no hint of the malevolent force it would one day contain. The exact moment the book became cursed is shrouded in the general tragic history of Monte Cristo. The homestead saw multiple deaths within its walls, a maid pushed from a balcony, a stable boy burned alive, a young boy falling down the stairs, and Mrs. Crawley herself, who rarely left the house after her husband's death, dying there years later. It's believed that the intense residual energy and sorrow of these events, particularly Mrs. Crawley's lingering presence, somehow permeated this specific book. Visitors and staff began to report strange occurrences around it. The book, once a mere object, transformed into a focal point for the homestead's dark energy, an active participant in its haunting. The haunted book is notorious for its chilling abilities. It's often found open to random pages, even when no one has touched it, as if turning its own leaves. Visitors have reported a sudden, dramatic drop in temperature when near the book, accompanied by an overwhelming sense of dread or suffocation. Disembodied whispers have been heard emanating from its vicinity, sometimes a mournful sigh, at other times a low, guttural growl. Perhaps the most unnerving encounters involve physical manifestations. The book has been known to slam shut violently on its own, sending shivers down the spines of unsuspecting onlookers. Some claim to have seen a faint, shadowy impression of a hand turning its pages, or even a spectral figure briefly appearing next to it, believed to be the lingering spirit of Mrs. Crawley, eternally bound to her home and its possessions. The feeling of being watched, an intense, oppressive presence, is a common report from those who dare to approach the haunted book, leaving them with an indelible sense of unease and a chilling understanding of Monte Cristo's enduring sorrow.